But my purpose tonight, additionally, is I would like to talk about an important thing that's come up a lot, and I get asked about a lot, is what is mindfulness? Am I doing the right thing? And I'd like to say a few words tonight on perhaps re-altering or altering some people's perception of what mindfulness, how it was taught classically in the Mahayana, in the Theravada, Mahayana, and Vajrayana traditions. I would say today there could be about 500 Buddhisms in North America today, all purporting to be the genuine ones. So whatever I say, you can take with a grain of salt. And I'm not going to try to sell you on anything, but I'm going to try to at least propose some things perhaps you've never heard, or things you've heard, but try to present some very, very classic statements and teachings on what the path of liberation is about, what mindfulness is, the purpose of the Dharma, the purpose of meditation, the two major trainings. So I've got a couple topics, just a few tonight. As I said to Ludo the other day when we put together a talk for an hour to Guatemala from Wangapeka. It was very brief. It was only an hour, but it was actually the subject for a full week of teaching. So I'm going to try to be very brief tonight, and happy to answer your questions. But the real purpose is to how to take this thing that's being promoted and taught all over, called mindfulness, which is a huge movement now. It's estimated it's worth over $1 billion, but it's certainly, one person who told me who's involved said, no, you're probably wrong. It's upwards of $1 trillion now. And it is huge in government, it's huge in corporations. As I warned, and not in a negative way, I mean, also be positive about it, but I've also told some Dharma centers, you really have to study not just Dharma and not just the mindfulness movement, not just that, but you actually have to study the origin of happiness movement in the Western world, the history of it, the need by government to measure things, very strong need by bureaucracies to measure. Corporations must measure because they have to get dollar for value. So we could go into this for quite a bit, but I want to talk about the original purpose of mindfulness, the original purpose of meditation, and what goes with it. So I've said, people keep asking me, I posted this on Facebook, it's the first time I've ever posted anything on Facebook in my life. But I was sitting in retreat up in Wangapeka, everybody left, I was sitting there, and all of a sudden this thing arose in me, just like, what is going, because I got an email up at the cabin, saying once again, what should I do? You know, what tradition, what school, what avenue, what kind of Buddhism, what technique? And so a little aspiration which arose in me. It was, the essence of it is all of that's pointless. Now, so I'm going to tell you where I come from, my view. That's all pointless. It's just confusing. I'm going to be absolutely classic, even classic to Theravada, which is one of only 18 schools of Buddhism in the early days, so it's one we have, is the noble mentor, the teacher, is the most important thing. Now, this is not very Western at all. At all, not one bit, in an anti-authoritarian streak that we're in. But if you look at your own history, I hope, you will see that the mentors that you studied with, the people that really gave you gifts, were teachers for you. And hopefully they're wholesome beings. So right back to in the Theravada tradition, Mahayana, Vajrayana tradition, the noble mentor, the teacher, is more important than the school, whether it's Soto Zen, Rinzai Zen, Gelugpa, Nyingma. People get caught in all this sort of stuff. That's not important. What's important is whether you have a heart connection and affinity with a teacher that can move you. That's why I love this room. It just speaks of lineage and teachers and great accomplished beings, some of who are my teachers, or I've had transmissions through other teachers. It's beautiful. I just love it. I can see some pictures are been moved for a heat exchange system. So this may sound very old-fashioned to you, but my life, I can speak about this a bit, my life, whether it's been in crafts or in science, has been profoundly affected by the mentors, not whether it was chemistry or biology. It was the mentors that got me to think about great view in science, how to think, how to approach problems, how to be in the lab. I just took a workshop in jade carving. It's great. I was in the studio and there were some questions I had because I love gem cutting. And New Zealand jade has some funny qualities about it. It has mixtures of all kinds of materials in it. And the setup I have at home doesn't really allow me to cut New Zealand jade to a really nice polish. So I knew someone from a number of years ago, and he has a studio, and I said, do you mind if you would teach me or show me? It's great. He's such a lovely human being, this fellow Steve, in Hokitika. And he showed me some things. I shared some things with him about gem cutting. And what's more important, he talked about his philosophy, is not the technique. It's learning under someone who knows how to learn. This is really, really key. Now I can see you better.
Because the light is quite too bright.
The light is too bright.
I can see you better.
That's good. Yeah. So let me begin this here. Is there, due to, and this could take a long discussion, so I'm not going into it, but you can just explore it yourself. But due to some peculiarities, which are good and some maybe not so good, about Western society, the first thing we want to know is about technique. What's the technique? Right? What's the medication? What's the technique? This is not at all how Dharma was ever approached. Not at all. So the three higher trainings in Buddha Dharma, which are classically taught in every single tradition, up until recently, they still are, but not necessarily in the West. But every tradition of Buddhism teaches the three higher trainings. Virtue and ethics comes first. This is like law. Meditative unity, themes of being a very fine human being, which is called samadhi. We should get the translation of mental concentration out of there. It doesn't make sense, and actually a whole bunch of people are just saying it's time to get rid of that. It isn't mental concentration. It's only one factor. I'll go through that with you. So samadhi, which is to be in union with what you're studying or focusing on, is next. And it rests on the quality of ethics, morality, and virtue. And I've had to explain this over and over and over again. People keep, even in public forums like university think, how come I can't sustain my concentration? Why does I say, I'm sorry to tell you this, but actually, if your virtue, I don't mean necessarily just being a good person, if your precepts, your virtue, what you do in the day is unagitated, you will find that when you sit down or you stand, your open focus is very natural. This has been taught for thousands of years. So what we're doing these days, we're focusing on the concentration, thinking that's an antidote. But traditionally, whether it was Zen, see, there's a new rewriting of Zen. You go to a monastery and you sit in Zazen. That's not actually how it happened. You never did that. They wouldn't even let you in the temple to meditate until you actually worked out your conduct and your virtue. That could be 2 or 3 years, plus studying sutras and studying texts and hearing transmissions. then you could go sit and meditate. They let you sit and meditate. I'm speaking very classically. The next one is wisdom meditations. Meditations to understand what's actually transpiring. So those are called the 3 trainings that are actually in order. Of course, you can go back and forth. Yeah? Vimuttimagga, the path of freedom, the Visuddhimagga, the path of purification. The great texts of the Theravadins have that. It's in the Mahayana, and you'll actually see it in very high texts like in the Shampakagyu tradition, of which Kala Rinpoche and the previous Kala Rinpoche are the holders of that lineage. You'll see in some of the texts that I studied and practiced, it will actually have 3 higher trainings described as a tree: the roots, the trunk, and the branches: sila, samadhi, and panya, or prajna. So one of the things that's been happening, and why there's some real difficulties in the area of meditation and the popularization of meditation, is that the first part of the training has been cut out. It's just been chopped out. So as a number of people have said, and quite vocally, and even some researchers have said, who are researchers in mindfulness, is you can be really mindfulness, but you could also be a great murderer. Mindfulness alone does not make you a fine human being. It just gives you more attention. Interesting, eh? So it doesn't necessarily clear up the underlying issues. Now, does that mean I'm trashing mindfulness? No. Does that mean mindfulness training can't be positive? It can be. But I'm getting all kinds of people coming to me who've trained in it and are trainers and so on, saying there's some problems. And I said, okay, I'm going to start to say some words about this. And that's because I believe that mindfulness as a term has been misunderstood, has been rewritten by also quite a few Western teachers to get it across simply, and also I think it's leading to a lot of grief. So I'm going to start to speak up about this. The other 3 trainings, which you see also in the Theravada, but not spelled out quite like this, but can be, but more in the Mahayana Vajrayana tradition, is what's called view, meditation, and conduct. So every single school of philosophy, meditation, school of Buddhism can be divided and analyzed in terms of view, meditation, conduct, and a fourth, which is often used, is fruition. What are you getting out of it? So the real question to me, which is why it's important to have a very fine teacher of training and accomplishment, is the meditation has never been considered to be the important part. The aspiration and the intent is the most important. I'm just going to say it really bluntly. Whatever you bring into your meditation, which is your intent, is what will drive the meditation. And 90% of that is not conscious. It's very simple. If you don't have a map or a GPS to get to a city and you're driving to a city, you could be spending a very long time trying to get to the city. If you're in a country with a foreign language, you don't know the language, even if you found the city and you're now trying to get to a destination, it may take a very long time to get to the destination because the two of you, the person who lives in the city and yourself, can't understand the directions. I've had that happen, even been pointed in the wrong direction. Or another time I went into Naples to go to a meeting in Naples at a research institute, and had timed it really well to go from one side of Italy to the other side of Italy by car and get to Naples, and we have a map. But acid rain has taken off all the names of the streets off the marble on the sides of the roads. You couldn't read them. So we had to go around asking people constantly, stopping and asking, and they'd point, it's just down there, it's over there, down there. So if you don't have a really good roadmap, the intention, where you're going, why you're going there, what the meditation is for, why you'd ever put that much energy into it, is not driving you anywhere. It's floating. So you're hoping that a technique is going to work. In science, we don't look for techniques. Science can actually help drive science, but actually it's your intent, what you're up to. That's why you pick the technique, not the instrument. That's like saying, I really like transmission electron microscopes. This has happened to me. Not to me, actually. It's kind of funny. We have a new microscope. You got to have a project, right, to use it? Don't you? Don't you have a project? No, I actually don't. Yeah, but it's $14 million. We got to get some people using this machine. I don't have a project right now. I like the one that's only 2 million. So in other words, the technique is driving your question. What should be really driving it, which I learned from my science mentors, is an overarching question and how we're going to get there. So I'm a firm believer, because it's all about causality, that intent, straightening out intent, your intent mind, your purpose, is the most important thing. And when you get into retreat, which I pray everybody gets to do lots of retreats to up the quality of not just practice, the quality of realization, that it's going to be intent, it's going to be purpose, more than technique any day, that's going to allow you to ripen. It's going to ripen. Okay. I hope this is making sense at all. It's actually quite logical. A little bit of logic, there's also a lot of feeling here. So, as probably all of you know, looking around the room from memory, I think I'm talking to a group that knows this. The purpose of Dharma is to liberate. Is that right? Is that correct? Yeah, I hope so. Hope you know that. It's to liberate. The purpose of Dharma is not to be in happy states. Happy states are transient phenomena. Have you noticed that? When you're happy, you'll lose it. And what happens with sadness? Sad, you lose it. All mental states are transient states. The purpose of Dharma is to find that which is unborn, nirvana. What the Buddha called, which is translated. Always remember, translations have agendas. So the great rest. It actually means burnt out. Actually, the word means, it's often translated as the great rest, the great peace. The actual word means burnt out of the afflictions. The afflictions aren't burning anymore, like putting a fire out. Yeah? So this is actually the purpose of Dharma, is to put out the mental afflictions. We're in a different culture today, which some have called the happiness era. It's the happiness time. It's worth billions and billions and billions of dollars to market happiness. There are magazines called Happiness. There's a magazine in Canada I've seen. It's about this thick. It's like Vogue magazine. It's glossy colored magazine. It's called Happiness. And it's glossy, it's expensive, it's like $18. And it's all about all the things that you can get and buy and purchase and look like to be happy. It's huge. So I was correct the other day by someone who's in that kind of industry and said, no, you're wrong, Lama. It's not worth billions. I know it's worth trillions. And it's extremely important for both businesses, government, and consumers to be happy. When they feel happy, they buy. I would like everybody to be relatively happy. So you know when you have that saying that says, may all beings be well and happy? I've changed that. May all beings be relatively happy and healthy. I'll tell you why. No teacher I've ever met has been continuously happy. No human being is continuously happy. This is a rewriting of it. This is a reinterpretation of it. Nobody on this planet that I know of is perfectly well. Most people, statistically, are sick. Should I give you some numbers? Medical numbers? current studies, was it 15-year study, recently published, I'll get it for you, shows that about 5% of the people on the planet are currently healthy. That's the norm. Most people have something going on that is chronic or acute at any given time. And that's probably normal, especially when we have a population now that 150 years ago, 200 years ago, only lived to 55. So when you're living longer and longer, you have a medical system, which is lovely, can keep you living longer, but it doesn't mean that you're not sick or going from one illness to another illness. So in Dharma, there's an understanding, written in the Four Noble Truths, supposedly the first discourse the Buddha gave, supposedly, is that illness is part of life. Correct? It's right there. Death is part of life. Being born is part of life. And they're all states of suffering. Any state, as he pointed out, any aggregated state is an impermanent state. So holding on to things of happiness, ideas of happiness, people of happiness, are all subject to loss. This is not Dharma. We wish people, they have to be reasonably happy, right? But that actually is a false premise. So I'm going to put forward to you a really radical idea that the era we're living in is a false premise. It's worth a lot of money to keep it going. And I believe it's going to cause a lot of hardship, of anxiety, depression. Depression keeps rising. World Health Organization estimates in 2020, 1/3 of all Europeans and North Americans will be mentally afflicted with a clinical mental affliction some point in the year. And mental afflictive disorders in 2020 will become the major cause of disability on the planet and the leading cause of disease. I'm just giving you the numbers. It's for real. 60% to 65% of all Americans are chronically ill after the age of 20. There's something wrong that they have to live with. So that's not the answer. What I'm saying is that's not the answer. It's the norm, and historically has probably been the norm. So as one of my beloved root teachers said when he started teaching on Mahamudra, he said, before I start, I want to get one thing straight with all of you. It's lovely. This is in Sompema, India, before teaching of Lo Trinley's fivefold Mahamudra. He said, I want to get one thing straight. The Dharma is not about happiness, being happy, and it's not about being sad. It's about being free. This is very different than being attentive.